Hey everyone, welcome to the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm Alexa Dath. This show is a lot of fun because you, the fan, get to be involved. You get to ask today's special guest, Marlins broadcaster Paul Severino, your questions. So there are a couple ways to do that. You can click the button below to sign in or sign up. That way you can ask your questions face to face. Or you can hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Chatting Cage so we can get those questions over to Paulie. Let's go ahead and welcome in Paul Severino, today's special guest here on the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Paul, good to see you. How's everything been down there?
Everything has been great, Alexa. How are you? Good to talk with you again.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, Paul, because I don't want to waste any time. By the way, you look fantastic. I'm glad you dressed up for us here on the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Appreciate you looking fresh to death here on the show.
It's the least I could do.
We
For
appreciate
real, it's
it.
the least I could do. I wasn't going to bring any gifts or anything, so I figured a pocket square would do the trick.
Nicely done, for sure. An expert dresser there, Paulie. Let's go ahead and jump into Twitter. We have this fan, Ben D16, who wants to know how the adjustment has been for you going from a studio host to the daily responsibilities of play-by-play.
It's been great. It's been an awful lot of fun. It's I do miss a lot of the great people that I worked with, Alexa, of course, you being one of them, on a daily basis there in New Jersey. But it's been fantastic to be at the ballpark every day, a different energy. Still around the game. I've loved this game as long as I can remember. So to be able to, I guess call this a job in some form or fashion has been it's been a blessing for me. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a little bit of different type of work, same sort of everyday grind that I had doing the studio stuff, but a little bit different because anytime, and I've been fortunate to not get into too many ruts, but anytime you get into a rut, you're in a new city in 3 days, and it just kind of rejuvenates you a little bit to kind of hit the reset button a little bit. So, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been an exciting team through the first half, and excited to get back to doing the games tonight.
Well, Paul, we were sad to see you go, but we love watching you down there, and you're doing an absolutely excellent job. It's been a lot of fun. Liz, 303, wants to start from the beginning of your career. Where did your love for baseball originate?
It's ever since I was a kid, really. As far back as I can remember, baseball was just kind of it. It was always my favorite sport. It was my favorite sport to play, favorite sport to watch. I played youth baseball, little league, and then all the way through high school. And then I couldn't hit a curveball anymore, so that was pretty much it for the playing days. But I knew that I wanted to be involved with it somehow, some way. And I guess probably when I was 7 or 8 years old is when that's kind of my famous story. Is that's when I started announcing my video games when I was a kid, and that's kind of where the announcing bug kind of started. And then when I kind of realized that you could do broadcasting as a job and get paid for it, then that's where I set my sights on doing that, and a communications degree in college, and did 5 internships, 4 in school and 1 right after school, and then was fortunate enough to get to ESPN 3-4 months after I graduated college. I was there for 5 years, 7 years at MLB Network, and now the first of hopefully many years with the Marlins. So that's kind of the short story on that. But baseball has always been the goal, has always been the dream job to be a broadcaster for a big league club.
Pretty fun career trajectory there as you go through all of your steps and continuing to rise there with the Marlins. We got a fan who is a Marlins fan joining us here on the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. What's your question for Paul?
Paul, what's going on? My question for you is, who is your favorite team growing up?
I grew up in Connecticut, and so I kind of had my pick of the litter, I suppose, between the Mets and the Red Sox and the Yankees. But my grandfather, my dad's dad, was a Yankee fan, and growing up, however old he was at the time, he was a big Joe DiMaggio fan. So Joe Paul DiMaggio was Joe's full name, and he named my grandfather named my dad Paul after Joe Paul DiMaggio. So my dad was a Yankee fan, so I was a Yankee fan growing up as well. Yeah, so the Yankees were my favorite team growing up.
Do you actually get to catch Yankees games now that you're working with the Marlins and calling their games on a nightly basis?
Usually it's just checking out the box scores of the highlights afterwards. I'm usually fairly focused on the game at hand, but when we're at all the different booths are set up a little bit different. But at home, just the way that our booth is set up. Like right to my left, we have a monitor of our game, and then right next to that, right behind that, is MLB Network. So MLB Network shows a few Yankees games here and there. So sometimes I'll see that game in its entirety kind of to my left. But the focus right now is on the Marlins full time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're doing a great job with that. Got another Twitter question here for you. Jesse Roca says, what broadcasters did you look up to when you were growing up, and why?
Wow. I get this question all the time. I don't know if I ever really answer it the right way or a great way. But a lot of different broadcasters. I think the easy answers would be, the Joe Bucks and, 96, the Yankees were in the World Series. I was 13 years old, so that's kind of like wheelhouse for falling in love with the team. So, all those Octobers that were fun watching baseball games with my dad, you always hear Joe Buck. So, Joe Buck was a guy, just being a sports fan that I am. You love listening to guys like Al Michaels and Jim Nantz and all those kind of national guys. But, watching a lot of Yankee games growing up, actually a guy who calls the Rays games. I listened to Dwayne Stats an awful lot when I was growing up, and certainly Michael Kay and John Sterling and all kinds of stuff like that. But honestly, and he'd probably kill me for even mentioning his name because he's too much of a humble guy, but I would also say Matty V, Matt Vasgersian, listening to him just actually through the video games, MLB The Show for a long time, and playing that when I was growing up, listening to him all the time, and then being able to work with him was a pretty cool thrill. But I don't have one favorite broadcaster. I've got a lot of different guys that I've looked up to and listened to, and hopefully take a little bit of each of those guys as whatever's worked for them. Hopefully little bits and pieces of it kind of work for me as well.
Yeah, awesome list there of legends, including Matty V. Not scared to say it. Even though he might not admit it himself, but I love that you give him a shout out there. All right, we have a fan here joining us in the Edward Jones chatting cage. Hey, what's your name and what's your question for Paul?
Hey guys, it's Colin from Seattle. I just have a quick question for Paul. A little two-part question, actually. First, what was it like going to the Marlins and having to getting to meet Jeter? Kind of from a fan perspective, did you have to kick those nerves? And second of all, just what's he kind of like in the front office setting?
Well, first of all, I guess I was fortunate enough that kind of my career path had taken me into his presence before. I had met him before a couple of times. I don't know if he'd remember it, but I certainly did. So that that was kind of cool. But we're on a first name basis now, so that's good. It's much more of a professional relationship as opposed to me being like a crazy 13-year-old Yankee fan. But no, he's been great. The entire organization has really been fantastic, and I'm kind of fortunate enough that I'm with a lot of new faces around the organization. So we're all kind of growing and figuring things out together. But it's been an awful lot of fun. He's been fantastic and supportive of me, and I think it was we have had him in the booth a couple of times, and it was the first week of the season, week or so into it. I saw him by the elevator, and he asked me, how's it going? And I said, well, I guess it's been okay. You keep me here. So, we joke around a little bit in the few chances that we get to chit-chat. But he's always at the ballpark. He's always there. He's very involved, as is everybody that's involved in the new regime with the Marlins here and trying to make sure that this thing goes in the right direction and kind of stays the course and turns this thing around to make sure that there's some winning days ahead for this team.
So as a Yankee fan or a former Yankee fan, you get to talk to Derek Jeter pretty often, which is one of the perks of the job. How about calling games with Todd Hollinsworth? Kayla T912 wants to know on Twitter what that's like for you on a nightly basis.
Todd's the best. He really is. He's you'd be hard-pressed to find a more prepared, enthusiastic color analyst, and that's not to knock any of the other 29 guys that have that job. But he's been great for me. Very helpful with anything that I need. We don't live far from one another. That just kind of happened by happenstance. So as I got the job, he's like, anything you need, whether it's baseball or job related or anything else, please let me know. So he's been a really good friend. We've developed a good relationship these first few months, and hopefully that's coming across on the airwaves a little bit. I will go back and I'll add to it. By the way, you said growing up a Yankee fan, there are a few times that I've had to pinch myself because I've got Derek Jeter on one shoulder and the manager Don Mattingly on the other, and I just sit there and like think, my goodness, if the 13-year-old me could see me now, like, wow, it's pretty wild. So
yeah.
that's cool.
Pretty incredible. That takes us to our EDJ question of the day. What do you remember the most about your first Marlins broadcast, Paulie?
Well, it wasn't a great moment. It was funny, I guess, in a way. Not even funny at the time, but anyway, it was the first pitch of the season, and I'm all geared up. I finally got the big league job that I've been hoping for my whole life, and here we go, ready for the season to start. Here's the first pitch of the season, and then whack, Ian Happ hits a home run on the first pitch of the season. But that was the first day, and the second day was really just as good. The Marlins won in 17 innings. And had a walk-off win against the Chicago Cubs in my second game. So it was kind of trial by fire a little bit, and but it was an awful lot of fun. That first week was a bit of a blur, but it's been nothing but fun ever since, and hopefully continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to enjoy this, and I think I will.
Do you aspire to try a different food at all the different ballparks you've been to? Because Fins Up 23 wants to know the craziest ballpark food that you've eaten so far.
I here and there, like I've tried to venture out and try different foods. The only problem is at these ballparks, sometimes the staple foods can get a little expensive, and they're not always the most healthy. So you kind of got to pick and choose here and there. I have not been to Seattle yet, but I can't imagine anything other than maybe the Rocky Mountain oysters, which I did not try in Denver. Anything weirder than, what do they have, grasshoppers or crickets or something in cockroaches, whatever they've got in Seattle. That's what I've heard. I haven't had them yet, and nor will I ever.
I had them, and they were actually pretty delicious. They're a little spicy, a little crunchy. But you close your eyes, it's like eating a nacho. You're fine.
Oh, great. I'm glad you said it. Now I don't have to try it.
All right, we got another fan here. Maybe it was had the grasshoppers, maybe not, but has a question for you here, Paulie, on the Edward Jones chatting cage.
There you go.
What is your name, and what's your question for Paul?
Hey, Paul, this is Kevin and Lexi here from New Jersey, and we're wondering what things
what's
are like
going
for
on?
you now. Not too much. We're wondering what things are like for you now when you have to travel around so much from city to city, how family life is for you and the players.
It's an adjustment for sure, and congratulations on a little one there, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but you work hard for 6 months and you get 6 months off. Just enjoyed an all-star break. We didn't travel too much, just some day trips here and there, and tried to stay home. And actually, what's today? Friday. So Wednesday night, we set up a tent in the living room with my son, and we had a camp out inside. So that was, I hopefully earned some dad points that night for getting ready to get on go on another road trip. But it's been fun. My son gets to come out to the ballpark. And, about once a homestand, kind of hang out up in the booth, and hopefully he understands that he's pretty lucky, that Dad's pretty lucky, that we kind of get access to different things that other people may not be as fortunate to have access to. So, all these baseball games that we're seeing and doing all kinds of stuff, and I love this job. I love what I'm doing, but I'll probably enjoy when the games are done and I get winter off, especially in Florida where the weather's usually pretty good in the winter. So, we'll be outside playing sports and doing stuff like that when I've got my time off.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because K. Harrington 89 says, what are your off-season interests and hobbies? Obviously spending time with your family, but what does Paul Severino, the non-baseball announcer, like to do when you have some time off?
I love a good nap. Baseball season or not, I love a good nap. Living in Florida, I think I need to play more golf, figure out a way to play more golf, because it's easily accessible. But yeah, I mean, I got this job a little late in the game, kind of just in terms of like the time of year. So I was told that I got the job at the end of January. Finished up my stuff with the network toward the end of February, and then we drove down from New Jersey to Florida at the beginning of March, and then games started a few weeks later. So this off-season might be a little bit more checking out areas and trying to chill out a little bit, get our bearings, get our wits about us as a family in a new area and stuff like that. But, yeah, I would say golf and hanging out. I'm pretty simple, I guess, when it comes to that.
All right, so you're saying around this time next year, not only you're going to be a pro golfer, maybe a pro fisherman, and maybe catch some rays, all the fun things that everyone's down there.
I can't cast. I can't cast still. I can't. I'm the guy that would like get the hook stuck in his back. Like I can't do it. I'm not. I tried fishing once. It didn't work.
Maybe somebody else
throws it
can
out there,
cast
then
and you
maybe
can reel
I'll
it in.
be
How
able
about
to-
that?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
there you go. I have to go out there with a tandem. I can't do it by myself.
That's what fishing's all about. Spend some time with your good buds. Hey, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Absolutely incredible career you have had and job you're doing that down there, and we love watching you. So thanks for being a part of the Edward Jones chatting cage with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I appreciate the time. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Take care. And thank you to all the fans who submitted questions with us on Twitter, as well as joined us here live on the Edward Jones chatting cage and got to ask their questions face to face. We have Edward Jones chatting cages coming up all season long, so don't miss it. I'm Alexa Dat. We'll see you next time.